It happened in a courthouse that smelled like old paper sweat and bad decisions, the kind of place where you can feel power leaning on you the second you walk in. I remember thinking, standing there in that cheap suit I wore on purpose, how quiet the room felt before the storm, how easy it would be for them to decide who I was without ever asking. And that's the thing about bullies with badges, they don't ask questions, they just pick targets. And yeah, that morning they picked me. I wasn't there to make a statement. I wasn't there to fight the system. I was there because 2 weeks earlier I'd been pulled over for dodging a pothole that could have swallowed a tire, and the deputy didn't like that I said no when he demanded to search my car. That's it. That was the crime, saying no in a place where no isn't supposed to exist. So now I'm standing in this courthouse in East Bryan County, heat, pressing down on everyone like a wet blanket, watching people ahead of me get chewed up and spit out over traffic tickets and fines they clearly couldn't afford. And I can feel it in my gut, that familiar tightness, that warning bell that says, yeah, this room isn't neutral. I lean against the wall, keep my head down, hands relaxed, breathing slow, doing what I've learned to do my whole life, which is don't give them a reason, don't draw attention, don't feed the fire. And that almost works until I hear a voice behind me, loud and confident, the kind of voice that's never been told no, and actually had to accept it. Hey, move. I step aside, no attitude, no eye contact, just making space, and that should have been the end of it, but it never is, with guys like him. Deputy Travis Hargrove stops, turns back, looks me up and down like he's sizing up furniture, and I can see the decision happen in real time. Cheap suit, calm face. Black man standing alone. Yeah, easy. He smirks and says, "Huh, you actually showed up. I figured you'd run." I look at him then, past him, and say, "Court date was on the paper. Simple, right?" But he laughs, that ugly little laugh that's meant to shrink you, and says, "You people always do." You know what I mean? That moment where the air changes and you realize this isn't about a ticket anymore, this is about him needing to feel big. He steps closer, pokes my chest like he's testing a dog, and says, "Truth is whatever I say it is in this county." And I'll be honest, my jaw tightened, my pulse picked up, my brain ran through options. It's been trained to run through for years, but I didn't move. I didn't touch him. I just said low and clear, "Don't touch me." He recoils, like I burned him. Face flushing, ego bruised, and he snarls, "We'll see about that," before shoving the courtroom doors open like he owns the place. Inside, it's worse. Judge Calvin Rusk is on the bench, leaning back, like this is his den. Not a courtroom, barely looking at people as he finds them, cuts them off, stacks fees like he's bored and passing time. I sit in the back and watch a young woman try to explain she was late to work, and he shuts her down. Hits her with the maximum, doesn't even pretend to listen, and nobody reacts because this is normal here. That's the part that sticks with you, how normal it all feels to everyone else. Then they call my name, State versus Marcus Reed, and I walk up calm on the outside, steadying myself with my hands on the table while Hargrove stands off to the side, grinning like he already knows how this ends. The judge doesn't even look at me at first, just asks for my name, flips a page, then finally glances up, and I see it, that assumption settling in, that look that says he's already made up his mind. He gestures to the deputy and says, "Tell the court what happened." And Hargrove becomes an actor, leaning into the mic, talking about swerving threats, feeling unsafe, painting me as some aggressive problem he heroically handled. I listen, don't interrupt, don't react, and when the judge finally turns to me and asks if I have anything to say, I tell him the truth. He's lying. The room makes that little sound, that intake of breath, because you're not supposed to say that out loud here. The judge warns me to be careful, and I explain calmly how I avoided a pothole, how he demanded a search, how I refused because it's my right, how I never threatened anyone. The prosecutor barely objects. The judge waves it away, and then he smiles at me, that thin, cold smile, and asks what I do for a living that makes me think I can tell officers how to do their job. Hargrove chimes in, mocking, guessing I sort packages or work retail, and I pause because I hate this part. I hate having to justify my humanity to people who don't care. "I work for the federal government," I say, keeping it vague, and they laugh, the judge scoffing, the deputy cracking jokes, and just like that, the decision is made. Guilty, maximum fine, plus contempt for calling a deputy a liar because apparently telling the truth is disrespectful now. I ask to submit my dash cam footage, front and interior, and the judge snaps. Denied, bangs the gavel, and orders me taken into custody. That's when it stops being abstract and starts being physical. Hargrove walks toward me like this is his moment, cuffs out. Voice loud for the audience, telling me to turn around. Hands behind my back, and I tell him I'm submitting. Just do it professionally. He leans in and says, "I'll do it however I want." And then he grabs my arm and yanks it up hard, trying to force compliance through pain. I don't move much, not because I'm tough, but because I'm balanced, grounded, centered, things you learn when you've spent years learning how not to fall over when things get violent. He shouts, "Stop resisting," even though I'm not, kicks my feet apart to throw me off balance. And when that doesn't work the way he wants, I see it in his eyes that switch, flipping from authority to rage. He backs up just a step, just enough, and then he drives his boot straight at my stomach, full force, right there in the courtroom. And yeah, that happened. People ask what it felt like, and the truth is, it felt like clarity. Time didn't slow down, but my awareness sharpened. I saw his weight shift, saw the kick coming, and I moved, pivoting just enough that his boot missed me. My hand catching his ankle, redirecting his momentum like guiding a door that's swinging too hard. He looked surprised for half a second, and that's all it took. I swept his leg and he hit the floor with a sound that rattled the benches, and the whole room erupted, gasps, shouts, chaos. But here's the thing. I didn't attack him. I didn't jump on him. I stepped back, hands up, palms open, and said loud and clear, "I'm defending myself. I'm not resisting." He scrambled up, face red, ego shattered, and instead of stopping, instead of reassessing, he drew his baton and screamed that he was going to kill me. That's when it crossed the line completely. He swung overhead, aiming for my head, and I stepped inside the arc. Jammed his arm, drove an open palm into his chest, knocked the wind out of him, dropped him to his knee, and locked him into a hold tight enough to control him, not hurt him. The judge was yelling, the bailiff was frozen, and then the judge screamed the words that still ring in my ears. "Shoot him." And in that moment, I understood, really understood, that this room was never going to protect me. This wasn't one bad deputy, it was a system comfortable with going too far because it never thought it would be challenged. The doors slammed open, and the sheriff came in with deputies' guns half drawn, shouting for me to drop him. And I kept my voice steady, told him I was unarmed, that his deputy had assaulted me, that I would release him when my safety was guaranteed and the deputy was cuffed. The judge kept yelling there were no cameras, that I attacked the deputy, and that's when I nodded toward the back of the room. My cousin Lana stood up, phone held steady, eyes locked, recording everything. "There is a camera," I said, "and it's streaming." You could feel the shift immediately, the fear sliding in where confidence used to be. The sheriff told everyone to stand down, snapped at the judge to shut up, and asked who I was. I reached into my jacket, slowly pulled out my ID federal official reel, and watched his face change as he realized this wasn't going away. Before anyone could spin it, federal agents walked in, calm, precise, already knowing what they were going to find, already watching the live stream. They took over the room like gravity, served paperwork, seized records, and put cuffs on Hargrove while he stared at the floor, small and silent. As they led him out, he said, "I set him up," and I told him the truth. That he set himself up, I just didn't move out of the way. After that, everything unraveled fast. Investigations, charges, resignations, the kind of cleanup that only happens when the lights are on and the whole country is watching. And I walked out of that courthouse, into the heat, free, exhausted, not feeling victorious so much as empty. Because here's the part people argue about. Some say I should have just taken it, taken the kick, taken the cuffs, fought it later. Some say because I'm trained I had a responsibility to do nothing. But I keep thinking about what would have happened if there was no camera, no live stream, no witness brave enough to keep recording. I think about how many people walked into that room before me and walked out feeling smaller, poorer, quieter. So I want to ask you something honestly. When someone with power crosses the line right in front of you, what's the right move? Compliance, no matter what, even when it turns violent. Resistance and risk being blamed, and how much of justice depends on whether someone's holding up a phone. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think I was right or wrong. Tell me what you've seen, what you've lived through, because stories like this don't change anything if we pretend they're rare. And if you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or bullied by someone who thought you were an easy win, yeah, talk about that too. Hit like, subscribe, all that, if you want more real stories, not the clean ones, the honest ones. And seriously, if you were standing there and you saw that boot coming, what would you have done?